Welcome to the Creator's Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world hearing their stories about growing a business. Today I'm talking with Scott Rowley about creative ways to find the right niche for your business and how to be clear on who you serve. Hey everyone, I'm Brian McAnulty. I'm the founder of Heights Platform. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, we're here today with Scott Rowley. He is the owner and founder of Peak Prosper. He lives in Whitefish, Montana, and is an avid outdoor enthusiast. With his coaching business, Scott has worked with hundreds of men to help them turn their dreams and goals into reality by focusing on business mindset, vision, and goals to create an optimal business performance. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, Brian? I'm stoked to have a conversation with you today, man. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, sure. So my first question for you is, what would you say is the biggest thing that you did or that you are doing that's helped you achieve the freedom to do the things that you enjoy?
Mm, Great question, man. And I would say the biggest thing, if I was to pick one item, I got really clear on what my dream was, what my vision was, what business I wanted to start, and why I wanted to start it beyond just the motivation to make money and have more time freedom and these extrinsic things that we get when we build a successful business. See, what I see so many entrepreneurs do in the early stages of their company and even in the mid stage and later stage, they lack a real why or purpose beyond themselves and growing a business. And I got really clear on what my purpose was, Brian. I built my business coaching company really out of the pure desire to inspire, educate, and empower other entrepreneurs with the skills and the resources and the mindset to turn their dream into a reality. And if I was to share just a couple more things that I continue to do to maintain my momentum here, I'm now 5 years into running this business. I continue to iterate on my vision and build a more powerful intrinsic purpose to turn that vision into a reality. And I'm not afraid to ask for help from mentors and coaches and other resources outside of myself when I feel stuck or I feel like having some extra support to get to the next level is necessary to break through my current barriers. So we talked about three things there: just vision, purpose, and having the humbleness and humility to ask for help from other experts in the field.
All right, yeah, that's a great point. So you help these high-performing entrepreneurial men grow their businesses. And one of the reasons you've been able to help these clients is because you've worked with hundreds of people to help them grow multiple 6 or 7-figure businesses. Can you share a little bit of what you've seen in working with all these businesses and how you've kind of understood what works and what doesn't work? Because as I understand it, you have this kind of research based methodology.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, I think that we would both resonate with some of the commonalities and challenges that we experience in entrepreneurship, Brian. And I'm I'm reminded of something that one of my mentors said years ago. He said, "Scott, new level, new devil." And whenever an entrepreneur that I work with is experiencing a desire to reach a new level in their business, maybe it's them earning their first 5K or 10K month, or maybe they've hit a consistent six figures and they want to scale up and build a team and grow their business to a profitable 7-figure business. They experience new challenges. So if we look at an entrepreneur that's really in the early stages, they're looking to establish their first six figures and get proof of concept. Some of the challenges that I see guys consistently experiencing, one is procrastination. And it's not procrastination because I don't want to do something. It's often procrastination because I don't know how, or I don't have the resources, or I don't have clarity on exactly what the next steps are. And another thing that I see coming up consistently as well is motivation. And motivation kind of goes hand in hand with ensuring that you took the time to clearly define exactly why you were starting the business in the first place. Because as we can both relate, Brian, you and I and all of the listeners that are listening to this show right now experience massive peaks and massive valleys in our entrepreneurial endeavor. And if we don't take the time to really clearly define what is inspiring and motivating us intrinsically to turn this business into a reality, we'll experience burnout when the valleys become too long or too hard to work through. So there's a couple of things there. When I see entrepreneurs stepping into this, we'll just say a new level. Okay, they've reached six figures consistently, and they want to grow to seven figures and beyond. They have new challenges that come into the operation of their business. Oftentimes that means they need to hire a team. They need to step into a leadership role. They need to shift from someone that was doing a lot of things to someone that is delegating and leading a team and inspiring them to create new products, services, marketing strategies, and systems to improve the business. So oftentimes what I see many entrepreneurs, at least those that I work with, they don't have the natural it's not even so much as natural leadership skills. They haven't taken the time to really develop the leadership skills and the mindset to coach their team, train their team, lead their team, hire the right people in the first place that are really aligned with their vision and values for the company. Because what I see can happen, and I see it happen to a lot of my clients, it's happened to me as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to speak on this. One wrong hire can really screw up the performance and the momentum that you've built in moving your business forward to actually hit your growth goals in a 6 to 12 month time frame. It can really slow your vision down. And it in the early stages of a business, when you're making your first one or two or maybe your fifth hire, making one wrong hire can really, really screw things up and pull you into one of those performance valleys that I was talking about just a couple of minutes ago. So there's just, I guess, a handful of challenges that I see entrepreneurs go through, both in the early stages and mid stages of developing their company, and things that have probably come up for both you and myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually want to mention something about the hiring. It's a little bit off topic, but I think it could be really valuable because I completely agree with your point that one wrong hire, especially very early on, can really be detrimental to your business. So with myself, I feel that I was kind of fortunate that I always had the mindset that that was important. So I didn't have to go through maybe making that mistake, fortunately. But I've seen others struggle with that. And for me, my approach to it, and I think maybe why people would think differently about it is when you want to hire somebody, especially like that first or second person, it's common to think to yourself, okay, I'm trying to save my time now. So I'm going to hire somebody and then it's going to save time. I can focus more on the things I want in my business. But it's often, I guess, maybe misunderstood that the process of going through that is not a time-saving process until really after they're hired and after they've been with you maybe 6 months or so, maybe even longer than that. And so for me, like in our first couple hires, like I went through thousands of job applications and like
Wow.
reading me and my wife reading through all of those, and like others have told me like, well, that seems like it takes a real lot of time. I just want to hire somebody and delegate. But I do feel I really made the right decision with that so far because our team is all like really close to each other, and our team all really fits with the same vision, the same goals, and really works well together. And I think definitely, like you're saying, that is especially important in the beginning. So I just wanted to mention that because I'd encourage anyone listening, if you're at the stage now that you're thinking about delegating or hiring the first person or a couple people on your team, it is worth the investment of really taking care of that.
Yeah, I think you made some really good points there, Brian, and I actually don't think that it was off topic at all. It was right on topic, and I've created a resource at peakprosper.com called the Massively Inspiring Business Vision, and that that resource is really a framework for helping entrepreneurs get really, really clear on their business's purpose and their business's values so that they can start to develop the culture that they want to start hiring around and building the company for. So, I mean, the absence of clarity around what those core values are in your business creates confusion when you go to the marketplace to start hiring people. And man, my hat's off to you. It sounds like you did a very methodical job of getting clear on the culture that you want to create, and you were able to find the needle in the haystack of thousands of applications that really aligned with exactly what you were looking for.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I agree that it is super important. It sounds kind of like esoteric to think about, oh, well, company values and all that, but it really is important to get everybody aligned with your goal and understanding that, and everyone working towards that same those same end values, I think. So I definitely agree with that. In your coaching business, we noticed that you're really focusing on this specific target market, mainly men who are building a business and also share this passion for adventure and the outdoors. Did you choose this demographic because of like a past experience? Is there any is it because of common patterns and clients that come to you? What made you choose this specific niche?
I'm so stoked you asked me that today, Brian. And for me specifically, I have a very strong affinity and spiritual connection to the outdoors. I love backcountry skiing and snowmobiling and backpacking and mountain climbing and doing these high adventure sports that challenge me physically and mentally. And what I found in my human experience is that I connect most powerfully to other individuals that share that common affinity, that common passion for the outdoors. You know, one of the, I guess, extrinsic reasons that I started my business was so that I could spend more time doing the things that I love. And adventure in the great outdoors is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And the further that I got into business and exploring in the mountains, the more I started to realize how many other adventurous men there are out there that are either running their own business or they have an entrepreneurial dream that they want to turn into a reality. And on some of these mountain climbs or ski adventures that I go on, I'll consistently bring new friends with me. And it is just amazing to have conversations about life and business in the outdoors. And what I start to see is the intersect of our passion for building a business that has a positive impact on people and our planet, and our passion for the outdoors. So what I've started to unpack here is some of the I guess twists and turns and adventures that I went on personally to land on my niche. And many of my clients, they work across a variety of professional industries, but most of my experience really falls into three areas. I work with consultants, adventure guiding companies, actually, and contractors. So they're all businesses that are providing some kind of a service, and they have an affinity for the outdoors and a passion for adventure. I think that we could probably talk for 30 minutes or 60 minutes about the framework for really dialing in the psychographics, demographics, the geographics, the business details of who your niche is. But in my experience, and I can just speak from my firsthand experience and the experience in working with my clients, it is very, very important to get clear on the type of person that you truly want to work with. I would call these like dream clients. I mean, who is somebody that you would be so stoked to work with or just go hang out with? I mean, I'd rather spend my working hours working with people that I love hanging out with outside of work instead of like a completely different demographic. So there's there's some resources again at Peak Prosper. You guys probably have some resources at on the Heights platform to help people really dial in their niche. But this task, this project, really, it's a project dialing in your niche. The importance and value of it in the early stages of your business should not be overlooked. And just a couple of last comments on this. We talked about procrastination about 10 minutes ago or so. This is one of those items that I see a lot of entrepreneurs procrastinate on. no matter what stage of business they're at. I mean, in the early stages, your niche is different than who it's going to be when you're at 7 figures or 8 figures. I mean, you will go through iterations of who you're targeting and who you're working with. But it's more important to get clear on a snapshot of who your ideal customer is, and then go test it in the marketplace. Start talking to those specific individuals and sharing your product or service with them and getting feedback from them so that you can really dial in who that person is and what about your product and service is resonating for them. So again, it's one of those items that gets procrastinated for all kinds of reasons, and decision fatigue is definitely one of them. But I would challenge everyone, if you're hung up on niching, to pick something or somebody that you are passionate about working with, and go test your message and your offer with that audience of people in the real world.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. Because what I like in particular about your business is there might be some other creators out there who they're saying, okay, well, I'm a business coach. There's a lot of business coaches. So, well, should I be a business coach for this particular business, or should I coach this particular aspect or thing? And for what you did, you figured out, okay, well, I really like outdoors and adventure. I want to work with people who like that too. And that actually became your niche. So I really like that as an example that if you're struggling to figure out, well, how do I differentiate myself? It could be as simple as, I mean, it can take time, of course, but it could be simpler than you think in like just figuring out who it is that you want to work with. So if you're listening now and you don't feel like you have that really dialed in yet, then maybe just think about who is it that you would ideally work with. If you had all these clients who said, oh, well, this client, like they really enjoy like outdoors like I do, so that's the client I want to work with, then that can be your niche.
Yeah, and one last comment on niching. I think that as entrepreneurs, we're best prepared to help who we used to be. So if you look at some version of who you were a year ago or 6 months ago or a few years ago, and who you are today, you are already equipped with the skills and the knowledge and the experience to help who you were. So there is a niche right there. It's like an easy way to identify someone that you could help.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point. That's something that I've referenced often for especially course creators dealing with imposter syndrome, because you think, oh, well, who am I really equipped to help? Am I really the most like world class at this thing? If you don't feel that you are, that doesn't mean that you're not able to make a course yet, because everyone who is even just one step below you, those are the people that could benefit so much from your experiences. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. I want to go into a little bit about like the components of building successful businesses. So let's see. We have in our research here, we looked up and you referred to this idea of keeping the mind's operating system updated. Can you explain a little bit more about this and why mindset is so foundational to becoming successful in business and continuing to grow?
Absolutely. And I'm probably going to share some acronyms that nobody's ever heard of. You're not going to find them in books because I made them up. And I think John C. Maxwell, he is famous for making words up. In one of his speeches, I forget the word, but somebody came up to him afterwards and said, John, that's not a word that you just shared. And he said, exactly. I made it up. You look at the entire dictionary before that word existed, someone made it up. So I want to talk about EMOS, and EMOS is the entrepreneur's mindset operating system, or the entrepreneur's mind's operating system. If you think of your mind as like a software, and let's just say your mind's software is running on DOS, which is an operating system from what, Brian, 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
That,
how
yeah,
old
way
is
back
DOS?
when. Yeah.
If your mind is running on an operating system that is 10 or 20 years old, it's not going to be suited with the thoughts and the beliefs that are necessary to take the actions in alignment with the vision that you have created or the dream that you want to turn into a reality in your business. And what we do to keep our mind's operating system updated is implement the Peter method. And Peter is PTERR. And that stands for your programming. If we look at programming as the software or the operating system that your mind is running on, these are your beliefs and how you see yourself in the world or see yourself in your business, your worldview. That operating system now is fueling your response to triggers, which is T. Okay. And triggers are the thoughts that you have in your mind about yourself or about problems that you're having in your business or things that you were thinking about things that you're going through. It's also people, places, and things. Okay. People that you're interacting with, things that you're experiencing, and places that you're going to. These trigger emotional states that we have inside of our body, okay, which is the E in the Peter method. And what we do as humans is we take actions based on our internal emotional state. Okay, so we have a trigger, a thought, a place, a person, a thing that triggers an internal emotional state. That emotional state is what motivates us to act. Okay, so humans are motivated to act based on how we're feeling. And the R in the Peter method stands for response. Okay, and our response now is formulated based on what we're thinking and what we are feeling, our emotional state. And all of this foundationally is now running on this operating system or the programming of our beliefs and our worldview. And what this is creating, Brian, is the results that we experience in our business, in our lives, with the production of a new project or a task or something that we want to ship to improve our business. So people wonder, well, why do I keep attracting the same problems in my business? Why can't I solve this issue with my niche? Or why can't I grow from doing $250,000 a year to my first $1 million a year? Everything feels like such a grind. Well, if we go down to the operating system or the programming that your mind is running on, we have to upgrade that first and foremost before turning a new level of growth into a reality is even possible. So we have to believe that it's possible and upgrade our beliefs and how we see ourselves in that vision by applying the Peter method before we can start taking new actions in alignment with our vision. We start thinking new thoughts, we start feeling different emotions, we start taking different actions at different levels in our business growth, and we start to experience different results.
Yeah, that's a good point, because often if somebody's really stuck with where they're at, the way to get out of that is not to keep doing the same thing over and over. Something has to change, and so maybe sometimes all the time, I guess, it's going to be necessary to first understand in your mind what has to be different, and then you can take the different actions that are going to get you that different result.
Exactly.
Awesome. So we saw a lot of success stories that you've had. One of them you mentioned where you helped a client get from zero business experience to his first client who paid him $150,000 for mountain climbing services. We saw about how you worked with a client go from nearly bankrupt with a restaurant to more than 7 figures. So could you share with us, if possible, what do you think are maybe some key factors that contributed to these success stories?
Yes, and I just want to sit with those for a second because those success stories were quantum for those individuals. And when I talk quantum, I mean life-changing, game-changing, business-changing, never before experienced breakthroughs as a result of applying some of the stuff that I teach. And Brian, I don't know why you do what you do, but you have a why that's fueling your drive to build the Heights platform. And part of my why that I shared in the beginning of today's conversation was to inspire, educate, and empower entrepreneurs with the mindset and skill set necessary to turn their impossible into a reality. And we talk about Xander as the individual who went from zero business experience to landing an over six-figure contract in his first business enterprise ever. That's life-changing for somebody, to go from this mindset of, I don't have any business experience, I don't know how to do sales, I don't know how to organize my project, I don't know how to organize my pitch, I don't know how to position my offer, but I have the technical skill set to deliver on a huge project of this magnitude, to closing the deal, delivering a world-class product. It's actually called the Gold Mountain Via Ferrata in Ouray, Colorado. If any of our listeners want to look that up, it is one of the most epic adventure experiences for people in the world. And I don't say that lightly. But what Xander and I did, and Evan, the restaurant owner who went from nearly bankrupt to, he's crushing 7 to 8 figures now. We went through that upgrading of their mindset, really flushing out the thoughts and the habits and the beliefs that were corrupt, like the corrupt operating files, that old software, and then installing new thoughts, new habits, new actions. And they started to experience new results in not just their business, but their personal lives as well, their relationships. They started showing up differently energetically. They got in tuned with their intuition, so that these ideas that come from the ether were something that they could actually process and act upon, instead of having that imposter syndrome come in and them thinking that it wasn't possible for them. We also worked together to upgrade their vision of what they thought was possible. Okay, a lot of us entrepreneurs have these impossible visions of some future reality that doesn't even exist yet. I mean, look at Elon Musk and the never before created products, services, and launches that he's turned into a reality. He created these visions that were so vivid in his mind that he could feel them. He could see them down to the detail. And as a result of that clarity that he had, he was able to create strategic plans and teams that were necessary to turn that vision into a reality. Furthermore, because the vision was so inspiring and so big for people like Xander and Evan that I've worked with, and people like Elon Musk and people like you, Brian, they're able to magnetically attract a following of dream team A players, so they can actually deliver on the vision and turn it into a reality. So we talked about, I think, 3 or 4 elements there of some of the methodology that I teach. And it really starts with mindset, really changing our thinking so that we can take new actions in alignment with our vision, and upgrading our vision for our business. And that resource that I talked about a couple of minutes ago, called the Massively Inspiring Business Vision, helps entrepreneurs get really, really clear on what their vision for their business is, so that they can create a plan and break that down into the baby steps that are necessary to actually turn it into a reality. And with that level of clarity, they start to understand the resources or the team that's necessary to actually manifest what they want to realize. So that's just a little bit, without going off on a conversation here we could talk about that one question probably for an hour.
Yeah, got it. All right. Well, what would you say? Let's say if there's a listener out there today that they're trying to build a business, but they're feeling stuck, and maybe they're experiencing some burnout right now. What would you suggest that they do to get out of that?
Great question, and something that I've faced at multiple points through my entrepreneurial experience. And what I would suggest, whether you're at burnout or you're not at burnout, maybe you're far beyond burnout, you're motivated, you're in your flow state, you are creating, you are building, people are buying your product or service, take some time to reconnect with your why. I think it was Simon Sinek quoted this gentleman, but I don't think this is a Simon Sinek quote. He said, he or she who has a strong enough why can bear any how, the how you're going to turn your what into a reality. And I've talked at multiple points today about intrinsic motivation, the importance of getting really, really clear on your purpose beyond your profit? Why do you want to build this life-changing, business-changing product or service on the Heights platform? Why do you want to go become a world-class construction contractor? Why do you want to go start an adventure guiding business? Why do you even want to become an entrepreneur beyond the perceptual freedom that you think it is going to bring to your life and your family? And especially when you're 2 years or 5 years into an entrepreneurial endeavor and you have invested so much time and energy and you're going through one of those valleys, take the time to reconnect with your why and upgrade your why, because what fueled you in the beginning may not fuel you 2 years or 5 years from now. So,
Yeah, I like that point. I think I've heard people before say, okay, well, you should just do something and figure out how to make money and then go from there. But I kind of disagree with that. And I kind of agree with what you're saying, that it's really important to figure out that why, because what happens a few years from that when you realize you get burnt out, you really don't enjoy it, you're not passionate about it, you don't feel that there was a reason for it other than making the money. And so ultimately to continue and be at level of super successfulness with whatever you're doing, there's got to be a really strong why that goes beyond any amount of profit.
exactly, man.
Awesome. So, what do you think is the best quality to have as a business coach?
As a business coach, I think one of the best qualities is leadership. And when I talk about leadership, I talk about influence, and not being some big Instagram influencer or TikTok influencer, but the power to influence, inspire, empower, and educate other individuals across, below, and above you. Okay. That means that you have develop the confidence and the clarity and the methodology in what you teach and coach so that you can help almost any walk of life. And that's what I believe is one of the most important qualities to develop as a business coach or business strategist.
Yeah, I like that because yeah, I think as you're kind of hinting at there, it goes through to your team, your customers, to your clients, everything. I like that. All right,
Yeah,
before
and if
we
I might, if I
yeah,
if I might add one more, if I might add one more thing too, because
sure.
there may be some consultants listening to this or business coaches, it's to take the time to define and clarify exactly what your methodology is and the steps that you take to help a business grow so that it is clear in a linear fashion in terms of how you create the result that your clients desire. So I just wanted to drop a couple of there, influence and clarity of your methodology.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that too. That's also one of the things that we tell all course creators. Most important thing about building a course, a coaching service, you have to be super clear on what is the result that you're providing. Because number one, you need to understand it for yourself so you can get people to that result. And number two, you need to make it really clear so your customers understand what they're buying from you, because that's what they want to purchase. They don't want to purchase your course. They don't want to purchase just talking to you. They're looking for this specific end result. Awesome. All right. Well, before we get going, I have one more question for you. And that is, if you could ask anything to our audience, anything at all, anything you're curious about, anything you want them to think about, what would that be?
Mm. I I want to know what is your 5 to 10 year vision? What impact do you want to have on the people on our planet, and how is your business going to turn that 5 to 10 year vision into a reality? The reason that I drop that question because it gets us thinking long term in terms of the positive impact that we can have through the vehicle of entrepreneurship. And Brian, I believe that entrepreneurs are the people that have the power to improve society, the health of our planet, and the ability for just the global humanity to live happy, prosperous, and fulfilling lives. So the question again was, what is your 5 to 10 year vision? That objective that you're aiming for and using your business as the catalyst to get there.
Awesome. That's a great question. All right, Scott. Well, before we get going, where can people find you online?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Brian. Two places. So peakprosper.com is the best place to find all of our free business resources. We run workshops and have courses and all kinds of worksheets to help you implement our methodology. We have tons of free stuff on there at peakprosper.com. And I also run a podcast called The Peak Prosper Show. You can find that on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. I interview successful entrepreneurs and business leaders and pull out stories and elements of education to inspire and empower you on your journey towards turning your vision into a reality.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much, Scott.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian.